Hi, this is Cheryl with Kind Power. How do we get good at falling? Uh, People are often talking to me concerned about their balance, concerned about sort of mastering balance. But when I look at people like skateboarders or gymnasts who are learning new skill, they are adept at falling. They'll often fall 40, 50 times before they even acquire the new skill once. Learning how to keep their balance through the kind of maneuvers they do. But is that a good recipe to learn how to fall well? And, why isn't falling over and over a good idea? And one way I think about this is, our brain and body are wired to keep us safe. And that wiring starts, all right from the beginning. So as newborn babies, we have a kind of startle reflex. Um, and it looks like throwing out your hands, extending your legs, throwing your head back, arching your back a little bit. And this reflex happens when babies feel like they're starting to fall. And typically it's called the Romero reflex. Typically this dissipates, this behavior around 6 months of age. But what I find is when I see adults trying to learn skills that relate to falling, this early blueprint reflex shows up in the middle of that learning. And so, and I've heard a lot of stories from adults. They tell me their falling stories, and they talk about particularly how they throw their hands out when they're looking to stop a fall. And the real challenge, of course, is if the fall's sort of slow and low, there's probably not much of an issue. But if there's any kind of speed or any kind of height, this, throwing out your hands creates rigid joints that the impact of the fall lands on. And so this early blueprint reflex is really a recipe for injury. And so, I train a martial art, Aikido, so I'm helping children, helping adults learn falling and rolling skills. And I see this reflex show up in the middle of rolling. So, say I'm helping children learn to roll backwards, wanting them to tuck their chin, to sort of, round themselves. And in the middle of going over, they'll do small versions of this bracing movement makes learning the skill really hard and potential to hurt themselves, to hurt their neck as they're learning the skill. So, how can you get good at falling if you're just not falling over and over? In my upcoming Friendly Floor, Better Balance class, the approach I'm taking is that we'll both learn skills related to balance and better falling, but we're going to do that using movements to deliberately develop better reflexes. So rather than just repeating the skill over and over and hoping our reflexes improve, we're going to train for better reflexes. And so we do that using micro movements of falling and micro movements of balance, like little snapshots in time, so that we can really do that reflex level wiring that improves our capacity to both balance and to fall. So if that's of interest to you, check out my website. This is a class I'll be offering multiple times per year. I really feel like it's a gap in our physical literacy and a real quality of life changer, especially when we get sort of over 50 or over 60, to have this kind of skill so we can just fall and get up and get on with our day. So check it out, take good care, have a great movement day.